you say can be recorded and put out on the campus. So if you don't like that, find another class. So it kind of works with it. I just put that temperature up from home. It's actually cooled down. It's 9 o'clock at night at home right now. It's 8:06, 8:13 here. It's 9:13 at home. With the heat index, it still feels like 96 degrees at night. When Valerie dropped me off and taking me to Merle's for dinner, and I had a delicious bowl of green chili. And I don't get that in Texas. I get red chili. It was 55 degrees, so yeah, quite a nice temperature differential. I'm going, 55 degrees. Yeah, we might see that in November. It's going to be a while before we do that. All right. Well, let's go on this.
And so you guys have probably surmised he's from Texas. And
And I want you to know, all right, in her other class, she used the term y'all correctly. We're working on it. If I can get her to say all y'all, use it properly, we will have won. And she also used the word holler.
yeah, I remember doing that.
Yeah, you know the answer, just holler it out. I was like, yes.
Oh, I thought you meant like going down to the holler and
Oh,
taking a
that
bath.
too.
I was like, holler.
All right. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk about nothing. We're going to talk about nothing and everything. We're going to talk about zero and a little bit about infinity. And one of the things to keep in mind when we're talking about this is zero, culturally speaking, is a very recent phenomenon. It takes a pretty good leap of imagination to come up with zero. There's some issues that come up with it. So we're going to talk a little bit tonight about zero, about some of the things in cultures and how it works. There's even an interactive portion of it. Just a quick mathy thing for y'all, since it's a math class, we'll do that. This is a shot done Labor Day Sunday. The Bastrop Fire in Central Texas, that's Austin, the capital, right there. The smoke clouds that you see there in the distance from the Bastrop Fire, at that point it was 3 distinct fires. This one, the Katy Ranch, this one out by one of the lake areas, and then one behind it. By Tuesday, after Labor Day, it became one massive fire. So far we've lost 1,500 homes in that fire, and it's gone over 50,000 acres. We're dry. We're like way dry. Anyway, those smoke clouds are 30 miles away from downtown Austin in this picture. This is not Photoshop. This is from 30 miles. So Dr. Hastrick's got the picture for you. If y'all ever want to try your hand at doing the math, you can look up the height of the buildings there in Austin, and probably a little geometry, maybe a little trig, something like that, to kind of figure out the height of the smoke clouds. Don't look up the height of the smoke clouds. That's cheating. But if you do, then at least try to figure out the way for an equation to work it out, to figure it out. It's pretty massive. This is, Bastrop is about 45 miles away from my home. We do have another fire that's closer, and this one now is 80% contained. We've got one closer to my house, about 30 miles away, that's 75% contained. My mother-in-law got evacuated from another fire, so it's a lot of fun. We're good there. All right. Well, we're going to spend some time talking about zero. And zero is dangerous. I mean, quite frankly, this is a dangerous thing to do. September 1997, the USS Yorktown. All right. Fantastic missile cruiser. State of the line, state of the art, and all that's designed to withstand everything. They're out on their shakedown cruise. They've gotten out of the shipyard. They're now shaking everything down, make sure everything works right, that everything does the way it's supposed to. During the process, the computer controls running things. One of the computer programmers left a zero in the program that should have been taken out, as all of them were supposed to have been taken out ahead of time. He left a zero in. They're offshore. All of a sudden, the computer tries to divide by zero. 80,000 horsepower worth of engines shut down, dead. All generation systems on the ship die immediately. The computer shut it down. It took them 6 hours to put in the jumpers to get them one engine running again so that they could get back to port. And it took them 3 weeks to get all the zeros out of the program to get it running. That's how nasty this little number is. All right? Somebody tried to divide by zero, and you all know, can you divide by zero? No, it doesn't work. So it causes some issues for you. Well, maybe. Yeah, but we'll get to that, whether or not you can divide by zero. We'll do that.
Chuck Norris can divide by zero.
Well, Chuck Norris can also slam a revolving door, too. Chuck Norris lives 23 miles away from my house. And I actually see him from time to time. Zero is, again, it's a relatively new concept. Even philosophically speaking, it's a relatively new concept in human history. It does come up a couple of times in history, in a couple of different groups. And for Western society, we'll talk about how it gets into it from us. We ultimately get the name zero from the Arabic word sifir, which we also get the term cipher from that. That we get the term cipher, to do mathematics, to do addition and subtraction. On all occasions, we even use the word cipher now for codes, numerical codes that are considered ciphers, and we work with it. The problem is, for most of us and for a lot of cultures today even, math has real applications. It's for counting things. Right? It's for making a count of the things you have. You don't count zero sheep. There's no reason to count zero sheep. You count one, you count two. So zero just really hasn't, until we get into theoretical applications, zero just really hasn't played a whole lot of mark within our society. So who needs it, right? Early hunter-gatherers. Right? For most of human history, we were hunter-gatherers. Men hunt, women gather, cavemen in bad movies, things of that nature. They don't need zero, all right? They only need to count things. For a lot of these cultures, your count may be two, may be the highest number they have in their culture, because it's one, two, many, or a whole bunch. If you ask one of them, how many cookies do you have? They'd say, many. All right, a bunch of cookies. They don't know the number. It doesn't matter. They've got more than what they actually need. Some cultures get up to three. The Macari and Moro groups in the Brazilian basin, the Amazon basin in Brazil, they count in a binary system. 1, 2, 1 and 2, 2 and 2 has been their general count. Anything beyond that was just a bunch. They just had no number for it. Recently, we're finding members of the tribe that are now using all in my hand, or as 5. Basically saying all in my hand is their count. And I think that's probably due to outside influence, Western influence coming into contact with them. But when goods are plentiful, all right, for hunters and gatherers, if we're in my intro class, you learn more about this. Goods are plentiful. There's always stuff there, so you don't need to count it. You don't need to count how many bananas you have because you've got bananas. They're out there. You don't need to count fish because they're there. So you just didn't need sophisticated numbers. And again, zero's not going to come into it. As cultures emerged, still, counting was fairly simple, and math starts developing. But there's kind of a weird thing about math for a number of cultures, and writing as well. A lot of people see this as kind of a magic. All right? There's a mysticism to it. There's a magic to learning how to do these things for a number of cultures. Some people are kind of suspicious about it. Some people more accepting. There's still a magic to numbers. How many of you have a lucky number? All right? 3 is a magic number in Western culture. Asian cultures, 3, 5, and 7 are auspicious numbers. If you go to Japan, little kids who are turning 3, 5, or 7 on their birthday, they take them to the local Shinto shrine to have them blessed because those are important marker numbers or auspicious numbers within there. We've got lots of patterns of numbers. There's still, even within quote-unquote developed societies, there's still kind of a magic to the numbers we got. So who needs 0? All right? Greek culture. Nope. Well, actually, they had 0. They don't want to talk about it. All right? 0 causes problems. And for the Greeks, it caused a number of problems within their system. All right? It caused a number of issues that came up within it. Greek math for the higher levels is based on geometry. Most of you all take geometry, and I'll tell you right now, geometry and trigonometry are my 2 favorite forms of mathematics. I love working with it. I even got somebody sent me an email once, the world's hardest, easiest geometry problems. Said, find a 7th grader, they can solve it like that. I went to the bookstore and bought a protractor. To solve the thing. I worked on it for 4 hours. I'm like, wait a minute, I've got a PhD, I'm not taking a math class. No, who cares? And I've worked on it for another 12 hours since then. I still haven't solved it, but it's just a puzzle. The Greeks worked with it. They shunned 0. They had somewhat of a concept of it, but they shunned it. All right, the Pythagoreans, under Pythagoras, he really kind of brought Greek mathematics to its high point. Pythagoras had a cult going for all practical purposes. As mathematicians, it was a secret brotherhood. You had to be invited into it, and everything you learned was very secretive with it. They really didn't like irrational numbers, but they recognized in geometry occasionally you were going to get one. There's no way to get past it, no matter how small of a measurement system you came up with, you were going to get it. 0 was a forbidden topic. They just didn't talk about it. They rejected it completely. It was like, no, we won't bring that up. They didn't need it. The Greeks did a lot of stuff with no more than a straight edge and a compass. All right, they were able to achieve a lot with geometry and without 0 working with it. The golden ratio, 1.618. We'll talk about that in a little bit. That comes out as one of the few irrational numbers that the Greeks really embrace, but there's a reason why. There's a repetition in nature that comes up with. For Greek merchants, Again, you don't count nothing. There's no reason to count nothing. And negative numbers would never occur to them. I mean, there's no. How many times have you built a house that you need a board -2 inches long? You know, it just doesn't happen. So the Greeks, they didn't worry too much about zero. The Romans, no.